get a book, read it, you'll get some, you'll get some knowledge from the book, but really just go out there and put the book into action or put what you learned into action. So if you're learning about medallion architecture, you're learning about analytics engineering, and you're trying to refine data for, a model, go out there and connect to an API, extract the data out, make those transformations. Don't just follow the book's tutorial.
Hey nerds, Monica here. Welcome to the Data Podcast for Nerds, where we get to talk to amazing professionals and ask them all about how they're using data to solve the world's problems. We're highlighting skills that data professionals use on a daily basis. Plus, we always include some fun bits because we're all nerds here and we love to have fun. So thank you for tuning in, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And as always, folks, happy learning. Today with us, we have Cole Freeman. How are you doing today, Cole?
I'm doing well. How are you, Monica?
I'm doing fantastic.
That's good to hear.
Good. So we typically start off our episodes by understanding people's origin stories. So if you could please tell us about your background and how you got to where you are today in your career.
Yeah, so I guess I have a interesting background. I started my career in law enforcement as a just a beat cop. So once I finished the academy, I started working patrol in 2010 on the midnight shift. So I got to see a lot of interesting things happen over the 5 years I was on midnight shift. And then was, I guess, laterally promoted. We don't promote up to detective, you laterally promote. Was promoted to a street gang detective where I worked for about 2 years. Um, I really, after 2 years on street gangs, I was to a place in my life that I needed a change. I needed to stop getting phone calls all the time, and a more regular work schedule. So I decided that I was going to leave law enforcement, and I went back to school, where I guess about a year and a half into back into a master's program, I was able to transition into uh, government consulting. So I started my career in government consulting more as a policy analyst to a DHS, a Department of Homeland Security project, but quickly found myself in dealing with data analytics when a person on my portfolio left the company. So I inherited all of her data analytics work. So I've really had to learn. I really had to learn data analytics kind of on the fly. Like Excel was kind of bread and butter at that point, and then kind of migrating Excel dashboards to Power BI. So over those first, I guess, initial years is where I kind of got my data analytics by accident.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you accidentally just fell upon data analytics, but when you were kind of learning what it was and how to do it and whatnot, did you see anything from your prior work experiences, those skills that kind of overlapped?
Yeah, I mean, communication skills were probably the most important thing. And I think that's one of the reasons I've been more successful in my data career is uh, being able to communicate well with people was, something that you just have to learn as a cop. Like you have to be able to talk to anybody from, well, where specifically where I worked, Marine Corps generals, who you may come in contact with, to just, an average street person, homeless. So, I mean, it really was learning how to talk to everybody. was super important. So yeah, definitely the communication skills like benefited me in my data analytics career.
That's awesome. And when you were learning Excel, was that completely new to you, or did it seem a little bit familiar?
It was somewhat familiar. I mean, in college, I had done a little bit of Excel work, but it wasn't anything super advanced. And I'd taken a data analytics course, you know, in my master's program, but also very basic, very basic skills were needed for that coursework. I really really got into data analytics. Um, Migrating a lot of our Excel dashboards to Power BI, and also what you would call like ad hoc reporting. So extracting data that was needed for, you know, for ad hoc reporting on the government contracts that I was working on.
Yeah, yeah. And how about Power BI? Was that one really neat to learn?
Yeah, I found Power BI easier. I found DAX easier than Excel functions. So
Really?
yeah, so I really enjoyed, you know, like working in DAX more than I did Excel. Um, so yeah, just all kinds of nested if statements were not like were not like my forte, but I found DAX cleaner and easier to write. So plus your drag and drop features are a little easier as well.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
With data analytics, what are the favorite problems that you like to solve?
Well, so we did a lot of forecasting at my most recent data analytics job. So, you know, trying to help the government um, forecast what they were going to spend over time. So forecasting was probably one of my, you know, favorite, um, I guess, problems to solve. Um, We also, at a previous contract, did a lot of data around people. So, different problems people were experiencing, you know, I worked on a detention project. So different problems people experienced in detention and, helping them solve those types of issues.
Okay. Very cool. So you like those people analytics? I think that probably, goes back to your previous experience too with people behaviors and whatnot.
I did like dealing with the people analytics better than the financial analytics. Was much more interesting for sure.
I'm sure. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about some fun stuff that
Yeah,
you have gotten yourself into. Hey, nerd, are you looking for a career in data? I would absolutely love to help you out. I just launched a data career strategy program that helps folks break into data without breaking anything. I provided a link in the show notes if you want to learn more information about it. Now, back to the fun bits. So, you mentioned that you had a role in DevRel and an interesting way on how you got into that role. Can you share that
yeah,
experience?
yeah. So currently, I am working in a developer relations role as a developer advocate, technical writer for a startup called Mage, um, and um, I guess I came about it in a interesting way. I had been wanting to become more technical in my career, sort of move my career more from business intelligence to analytics engineering, or possibly, you know, a entry level data engineer, something in that realm. Um, So I had started using this tool that was a re- marketed as a replacement for Apache Airflow, and it was called Mage. And I really started documenting my journey just to kind of hold myself more accountable, and documenting that journey helped me learn new technical things in Python and SQL. Also, like data engineering processes and best practices and things along those lines. So, uh, as I'm documenting the different projects that I'm working on, uh, that led to them noticing, that Mage was, or that I was talking about Mage a lot, and that led to conversations with the CEO, Tommy Dang, and a few months after that, they made me a job offer. So, yeah, it was an interesting way to come into I guess, a new career.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
when you mentioned documenting, what exactly were you doing?
I was really just documenting my project journey. So, what I had worked on that week, or that day, or whatever it might have been. So, from extracting data out of, I was working on a just a personal project to extract data out of the Chicago data portal. So it was their law enforcement data. They have a public data portal that you can connect through an API. So pulling that out, transforming it, and then loading it into either a Snowflake instance, and then from there to Power BI as well. So I think I used Snowflake and Postgres once my Snowflake free trial ran out. um, so, but yeah, I was just really documenting that whole journey and that whole like technical knowledge that I was trying to build.
Yeah. And so were you building out a portfolio on a certain platform, or what were you really leveraging to share that documentation?
Yeah, so I was really leveraging LinkedIn to share it, but also, I have a GitHub account, so some of my projects and code are in GitHub. So yeah,
Yeah. How was your experience with sharing your progress on LinkedIn?
yeah, it's been interesting. You do get some critics, but you also get a lot of like support, which is definitely what I got from Mage the entire time this was going on.
Mhm.
Um, and it's sometimes you have to have thick skin to hit the post button, but I think it's worth the benefits that you get out of it far outweigh the cons. Um, I've made connections uh, th- you know, that have helped me and guide me along the way, as well as this leading to a job offer. So, those connections that you make that are like that will help you, and they do exist out there. It's not just all negative, but so those connections that you make will definitely like kind of guide you or help guide you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, along your whole journey, it seems like you had a lot of time to learn new things. And besides documenting and sharing it out on a platform like LinkedIn, what would your advice be to others that are out there trying to learn new things? Like, are there any additional resources, your go to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big book guy, I guess you could say. I'm not like huge on watching watching YouTube videos. I do like to get a lot of my knowledge from books. Um, so, I always tell like in my posts that like get a get a book, read it. You'll get some. you'll get some knowledge from the book, but really just go out there and put the book into action, or put what you learned into action. So if you're learning about medallion architecture, you're learning about analytics engineering, and you're trying to refine data for, a model, go out there and connect to an API, extract the data out, make those transformations. Don't just like follow the book's tutorial. Like, put the action, or put the like learning or the knowledge that you get from the book into action outside of that book's like resource.
I love that advice.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite books that you would recommend to others?
Yeah. So I've recently read Analytics Engineering with SQL and DBT, and a couple other analytics engineering books. I think those are what most recently what I've read. Trying to think. Reading uh, a book on data modeling. I'm trying to remember the name, but it's slipping my mind right now. Stars. It's called Star Schema. Um, and yeah, so those are a couple of the books that I've read or are reading recently.
What other things do you do hobby wise that help you be the awesome data professional that you are?
Oh, so I'm a dad, so my hobbies tend to be whatever my kids are doing. Right now, I am coaching tackle football, kindergarten through second grade. So I have 14 kindergarten through second graders that I'm coaching, and it's a disaster. Like, controlled chaos doesn't even describe it. um, but I've coached kids from kindergarten through, my son is 7, so through that age, in other sports, and it's super rewarding. um without like volunteer coaches, a lot of kids just would not get sports experience, especially in your like larger metropolitan areas where the middle schools don't have all the sports that are out there. So the volunteer coaches, they make youth sports work for sure. um,
Hmm.
so yeah, but it's super rewarding. It's very stressful. It does add stress in my life, but but I like being able to see the kids go out and like learn new things, and you know grow. The growth you see in a child, like from the beginning of a season to the end of the season, is just like night and day. Like, you can't even like picture that kid, like what they were at the beginning to what they were at the end. It's they just like absorb so much over like 2 or 3 months. um
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned controlled chaos. That screams data analytics to me for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. Well, this is manual labor. I'm like picking kids up and putting them in the right spots. So there's no automation here.
Data cleaning,
Yeah, data
right?
cleaning.
You
Yeah.
gotta get everything in order.
Yeah. No, it's you'll get one kid in the place, and you'll be like, "Don't move," and then they'll move, and you'll finally get this other kid in another place, and it's like 3 minutes later, you still haven't like even hiked the ball yet. Like, so, but yeah, it's definitely controlled chaos. Definitely.
I love that. So, for those listening to the episode and very curious about getting into data analytics, do you have any recommendations or words of encouragement for them?
Yeah, I mean, I really think it is just like taking action. Um, Getting that book off Amazon, or whatever you've seen has the like best stars, or whatever you've Google searched to say, okay, I learned a lot out of this. Taking that book, reading it, working their own tutorial, but also saying, okay, I can go outside of this, or I think a lot of people use their own like workout data or their own, personal data of some sort, like a Fitbit or a iWatch data or whatever. There's so many different like avenues that you can put what you learn to work, um, to increase your knowledge, from that resource. So I would say take action on that. Read the book, but also, go outside of the book and try to apply the knowledge that you're learning,
Great advice.
and write about it too. It helps. It's it doesn't just like it helps you remember. Kind of reinforces what you're learning.
True. Definitely.
Yeah.
When you're writing about it or possibly like teaching others about it, definitely solidifies it in your own
Yeah.
way. Yeah. Well, thank you so very much, Cole, for coming on the show and sharing your story with us. If any of the audience members have any questions for you, where can they find and or follow you?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not a huge social media guy, but I'm on LinkedIn. So it's at Cole F. Freeman, I believe, on LinkedIn. And that's really the only social media that I use. So
Awesome. LinkedIn's a good one.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much again. And as always, folks, happy learning.